In this video, I want to show you 5 things you should be doing in Lightroom for an efficient editing workflow. Today's tips will help you find your images quickly, easily isolate your best images, and how to track the use of your favorite images in multiple projects and applications such as printing, websites, social media, and so on. So here's what we're going to cover. Number 1, using metadata to find images. Number 2, using Lightroom's rating system to quickly isolate groups of images. Number 3, store variations of an image in virtual copies and snapshots. Number 4, collections. They will help you organize thousands of images. Number 5, how to find missing images. And at the end of this video, I have a bonus tip: the power of embedded GPS data and how to use Lightroom to add GPS data to photos in seconds. I've been using Lightroom for nearly 20 years, starting as a pre-beta tester while working as an Adobe ambassador. Over that time, my main Lightroom catalogue has grown over to nearly 500,000 images. I use Lightroom to organize and process my client work and my personal projects. Number 1, work smarter with metadata. Not many photographers I know enjoy the essential housekeeping stuff of applying metadata to images, backing up, file naming. The thing is though, if you don't do this stuff and you're an active photographer, you'll quickly become bogged down and discouraged by not being able to find images, losing images through hard drive failure or accidental deletion, and that's even less fun than applying metadata. The trick is to spend a little bit of time automating as much as you can by setting up templates and presets. These can and should be tweaked over time as your situation changes. There are basically 2 types of metadata we are interested in. Number 1, EXIF, exchangeable image file format. This is the stuff that your camera captures and embeds into the file: lens, shutter speed, date and time, etc. You don't have to do anything about this, as Lightroom automatically reads it and uses it to organize images. Except make sure the date and time is set correctly on your camera. And number 2, IPTC, which stands for International Press Telecommunications Council. This is location data, subject keywords, copyright, all that useful stuff. And this is metadata that you have to apply. If we go to the Library tab and click on a photo, we can view the data in the metadata panel on the right. By using the drop-down menu at the top of the panel, I can view all of the separate metadata categories for this photo. So in the EXIF view, I can see all of the data my camera recorded. This is what's imported automatically. I can also view the IPTC data. This is where I can input useful information, and here is where we will look at our first preset. So just below the metadata panel title is a drop-down menu called Preset. If we click on that, you can see I've already saved a few presets. I'll go to Edit Presets and we'll have a look at Copyright J. Dugan. You can see I've left most fields blank, but I've already put in my copyright information and my contact and web details. This data will travel with the files whenever they are exported, unless you specifically exclude it. So in this preset, I'm just including global information I want applied to every file on import. If we go back to the drop-down metadata list and go to the location view, you can see I've applied location data to this image. This is where you should apply your location data rather than in keywords. Let me show you what I mean. Here's my Lightroom catalogue. Let's say I want to find the best images I've taken over the years from Monte Carotto in the Marche region of Italy. In the Library module, I can bring up the Library filter bar by pressing the / key. On the top right of this bar, next to the padlock icon, is a drop-down menu that lets me select various search layouts. I'm going to select the default location columns. I can drag the divider at the bottom of this bar to give me a bit of room. The location columns layout is in 4 columns from left to right in the order of country, state or province, and city, and then location. In the left-hand column marked country region, I can see I have a total image count of 490,614 images that have been tagged with a country. Scrolling down to Italy, I can see it's showing me I have 60,617 images from the image count on the right. If I click on Italy, I see the columns to the right of the country column update to now only include regions, cities, and locations in Italy. If I now go to the second column and scroll down and click on the Marche region, the city and location columns update to only show the cities and locations of the Marche region of Italy. Scrolling down the city column, if I click on Montecarotto, the locations update to only show the locations within Montecarotto. Let's say I want to view all of the images I've taken at Parvadomus, an agriturismo that we have stayed at. That's 1,639 images, too many. How about just the best ones? To do that, I go to the top of the library filter bar and click on the Attribute tab. This adds an additional filter bar to the metadata section we already have active. Clicking on the 1-star rating button on the right of the toolbar takes us from 1,639 images to 129. Still too many. 2-star gets it down to 61, 3-star to 28, and 4-star to 6 images. Now I'm down to a more manageable 6 images to make my selection from. What about if I wanted to only see good Montecarotto images from a certain year? One way is just to add another column by going to the drop-down 3-line menu to the right of the last column and selecting Add Column to the Right, then selecting Date. Now I can click down through the years and just isolate the selection of images to only show the years we have stayed at Parvadomus. One thing to be aware of is that the hierarchy works from left to right. Columns to the right will only include the subset of the category chosen to the left. I can demonstrate this by going to New Zealand in the country column, and you'll see the columns to the right of this update to only New Zealand provinces, cities and locations. This is why I recommend putting your location data in the appropriate IPTC field rather than in the keywords. Presets and templates help you work consistently, meaning you could fully take advantage of Lightroom's powerful search tools. These searches I've been doing are really only effective if I've applied the metadata consistently to all of my images. If I had only applied Italy to half of the images I'd taken in Italy, only half of my images would show up in my searches. Possibly my best ones would be missing, you wouldn't know. Something that is done consistently becomes a habit, which by definition is nearly effortless. And if you can automate things, it becomes even more effortless and, well, consistent. Think of it as an investment in your future photographer self. The other thing about consistency is that by applying this metadata at the import stage, the metadata can travel with the image when it is exported and be used by other software on websites, computer searches, and so on. One gotcha that I want to mention is this lock icon here at the top right of the library filter. If this is on, then your search attributes will stay active when you change your view to a different collection or folder of images. I can't talk about metadata without mentioning keywords. For some images intended for the stock image market, I have gone to the effort of adding many keywords. But mostly I add keywords for my own searches. I ask myself, if I was searching for this image in 5 years' time, what search keywords would I use? I at least try to keyword my highly rated images. You'll find options for presets throughout Lightroom. My suggestion is, if you find yourself reconfiguring the same settings over and over again, see if you can make a preset that covers it. One of the places I use presets all of the time is in the Export module. Another useful area to use presets is in the Print module. Did you know that Lightroom is a great program for generating proof sheets, and that you can save your proof sheet layouts for future use? Here's how to use Lightroom's star rating system. So no stars, it's not meant to be seen, such as part of a stitched image, an HDR image, or it's just record images. So 1 star, good enough to keep. 2 star, okay, worth considering. 3 stars, pretty good, happy to show this. 4 stars, best of category type images and portfolio images. And 5 stars is pretty rare, it's my best ever images. So there's no hard and fast line to these star ratings. I have heard photographers comment that they don't use the rating system because they don't always know what to rate an image at the start. Well, neither do I. But it's better to start with something and then just change the rating when you change your mind. For example, I don't think this image here really deserves a 4-star rating. It's more a 2-star image. So just highlighting it, hit the number 2 key and boom, it disappears from the 4-star selection, but it will show up in the 2-star selection. You can filter also by flag or color label. So flags are used in the following way. Flagged, selected for a client or some other use such as website gallery or print. This flag is usually temporary and it's just for a job or a project. Rejected. I only use these flags for images that are to be deleted, such as blank frames, frames that are out of focus, and so on. So when an image is flagged as rejected, it also shows up as grayed out in the image grid, which makes them easy to see. So unflagged. I really use this flag label, but I might use it to check if any images have missed getting flagged. And by the way, I will collect all these shortcut keys I'm mentioning and include them in the description and also at the end of this video. Color labels. So I use these as temporary sorting categories. For example, here are a group of images from a recent trip. I've given a group of them a red label to isolate them for stitching. So how did I label them red? The simplest way is just to make your selection and hit the number 6 key. Lightroom gives a confirmation message. Hit the 6 key again if you want to remove the red label. So the number key shortcuts are mapped as follows. If I go to the library filter and select the red label, everything else disappears. I see that I've bracketed these exposures, so by simply making sure one column is set to shutter speed, I can view each exposure bracket and evaluate whether or not I want to stitch these as an HDR panorama or not. One of the best places to apply presets is import, so that a lot of the work is done for you as your images are imported into Lightroom. So let's import some raw images I shot for this demonstration. Here's Lightroom's import screen. The place to start is right down the bottom here in Import Presets. You can see that I've already saved quite a few. I would normally use my preset raw from card, but let's start from scratch for demonstration purposes. So going from left to right, at the top I can see it's coming from my camera SD card. I'm copying the files and they're going to my raw photo hard drive where I keep all of my raw files. If we have a look at this hard drive, you'll see that there's a bunch of folders by year going back to 2008 when I started this system. Each year folder is split into 12 months and all of this organization happens automatically on import. Let me show you. If I go down to the Destination tab, I've ticked the checkbox into subfolder Organize by date and date format 2024/09. Whenever a new month or year comes around, Lightroom automatically adds the year or month folder in the hard drive. For this to be accurate, it is important that you have your camera's date timestamp set accurately. And don't forget to change this when you're traveling across time zones or for daylight saving. If we go back up to the first tab, File Handling, I set Build Previews to Standard, don't import suspected duplicates, and as I try and follow best practice, I check Make a Second Copy Too. This backs up the ingested files to a second hard drive that I always have plugged in specifically for this purpose. The next tab is File Renaming. I always rename my files, and this is too big a topic for this video, but here's a quick overview. I don't use subject or location to name my files. This information is best left to metadata and keywords. If you're not using collections, you probably should be. An image can be in any number of collections without duplicating the original image. And when you make changes to that image, it's updated across all the collections. So let's look at an example. So here's one of my favorite images. If I right-click on it in Library and go to Collection, I can see all the collections the image appears in. And if I make a change to this image, let's say I warm it up by a lot, you can see that it updates across all collections. This is a reflection of the non-destructive way that Lightroom works. Changes are stored in the Lightroom database as metadata rather than overwriting the original file. Just a note that you can search collections, something that I find very useful because I have so many. For example, let's say I was looking for images from a recent commercial shoot of a surfer. I can go to the search bar at the top of Collections, key in Surfer, and go straight to that collection. Click the 1 star in the library search to see my pics, Click the flag button and I see the one image that I selected to submit to my client. You can see I've even saved a collection set for this YouTube video. And a quick way to get to a recently used collection is to click on the breadcrumb text in the film strip, and you can pick from your recently visited collections or visit some built-in preset collections. If I right click on any collection, you can see I have a number of options. For this video, we are most interested in the top three, which are the three basic types of collections. First, there is a simple collection. Let's say we create one and call it Collections Demo Images. I'm also going to tick the checkbox Set as Target Collection. You can see it appears in the 007 metadata folder, and it is highlighted, which means it is set as the targeted collection. Target collection just means that if I select a group of images and hit the B key, they get added to the designated target collection. Hitting the B key again while they're still selected removes them from the quick collection. I can also just drag and drop images from the grid pane over top of the collection to add them. You can also drag images within a standard collection to put them in a custom order, or click on the sort order in the toolbar to order them in any number of different ways. By the way, T is the shortcut to hide or show the toolbar. Next in the drop-down menu is Smart Collection, and this is where you really leverage the power of metadata. You can see I've already saved a smart collection called Not a Time-Lapse, because the collection icon has a yellow cog icon on it. I can double-click the collection and go into its settings and see that I've set the parameters Capture Data in the last week and also Keywords Doesn't Contain Time-Lapse. Let me show you why I've done this. If I create another smart collection and call it All Images in the Last 2 Weeks, you can see that I have 2004 images, most of which are just meant to be used as part of a time-lapse video. Because I have an import preset for time-lapse captures that applies the keyword time-lapse to every time-lapse capture, I know I can hide them by setting up a smart collection with the criteria Don't show any images with the keyword time-lapse. And this collection returns 471 images, much more manageable to sort through. I noticed in the last 2 weeks I have also imported a bunch of images to turn into 360 spherical panoramas. So these are also distracting if I just want to sort through standard captures. So I could add another condition to the smart collection. Keywords also doesn't contain 360 pano, which is another keyword that I add automatically to my 360 pano imports. And now my visible collection goes down to 243 images. These are just the use scenarios that I find useful and constantly update. But what smart collections can you think of for your own common use scenarios? And just a note, by default the B key is set to Quick Collection, which is in the Catalogue panel at the top left panel group. But you can change this at any time by right-clicking on a collection and selecting Set as Target Collection. The last collection type I want to cover is a collection set. This is the equivalent of a folder on your hard drive. You can see I've already created one for this video called 007 Metadata, and that it is even in a parent folder called YouTube. So much the same as your desktop, you can nest collection sets and drag collections from one collection set to another. Another way to leverage Lightroom's non-destructive workflow is to save variations of an image as virtual copies. Let's say for this image I want a black and white version and a cropped version for Instagram, but I don't want to save these changes over the original file. So by right-clicking on an image thumbnail, I can go down to the option Create Virtual Copy. I can do this for as many variations as I need. I'll create 2 for our demo. In the metadata panel on the right-hand panel set, I can also set the copy name, which will show up in searches. Now I'm going to name one of these virtual copies Instagram and the other black and white. Then it is simply a matter of cropping the Instagram image and doing the black and white conversion on the other virtual copy, and these copies will be treated like separate files by Lightroom, but without the overhead of taking up extra space on a hard drive. They can even have different star ratings. For example, if I wanted the black and white version to only have a 2-star rating, changing the black and white virtual copy doesn't affect the other 2 variations. I can select the 3 variations and hit the N key to show you them as a group in survey mode. So what to do when you see the dreaded exclamation mark on your image? You often only realize that it's there when you're unable to make edit adjustments or export the image. So click on the exclamation mark icon and look at the file path. If it shows that it's just from a hard drive that has been unplugged, plugging it back in usually fixes the problem. If I don't know where the image has gone, I usually copy the file name and then do a search of my computer for this image. I can see that it has found this missing image in a couple of places, and I know that it's the smaller file that we are looking for, so I OK that and the problem goes away. If you have a lot of missing images, you may find it easier to see if whole folders of images have been moved or had their name changed outside of Lightroom. Let me show you how that can happen. Now, I happen to know that these 4 images are within my 2022 raw images folder. If I go to that folder and rename it outside of Lightroom, when I go back to Lightroom, you can see that the images now have the dreaded exclamation mark. To fix this, I can relink to the renamed folder like so, or if I undo that, I can go to the original folder on my hard drive and rename it to its original name. Now, in all of these situations, to avoid these problems in the first place, try and only move images around from within Lightroom. You can drag and drop folders or images just as you would on your computer desktop, and if you get in the habit of doing this from within Lightroom, you're much less likely to ever see that dreaded missing image symbol. So here is the advantage of having embedded GPS data. If I go to an image and I see that it has GPS data associated with it, I can click on the arrow next to the GPS coordinates. This takes me to the map module and the location from where this photo was taken. If I click on the highlighted yellow marker, I can cycle through other images from the same location. Nifty, huh? But watch this. If I zoom out a bit to show you most of the South Island of New Zealand, which is where I live, and make sure that my entire catalogue of photos is viewable, I can see photos from all over the South Island that have been GPS tagged over many, many years. Super nifty. For many years I've carried a Garmin GPS unit. It's a relatively simple procedure to sync the track logs from the Garmin to the photos in Lightroom to embed the GPS information. Phones and drones generally already have the GPS information embedded, and Lightroom will automatically pick this up. Here's a trick to quickly add GPS information in Lightroom if you know the location but you didn't record GPS data. Take these images I shot on my street the other day. I know where they were taken, so all I need to do is drag each image to where it was taken on the map, and the GPS information is added to the image metadata. So those are my top tips to stay organized. As promised, here are my most commonly used keyboard shortcuts. Is there anything you would like me to do as a separate deep dive video on? I know that some of these topics do warrant a dedicated video, so let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching.